You're up first. What, you want to go ahead first, or?
Yes, sir. I would like for you to give me the opportunity to present some information as far as the county's point of view on the poultry farm. We also have a couple of guest speakers here that we would like to call up that are directly related to the poultry farm, and then we can ask for public comment after that.
All right, that's how we're going to handle this. We're going to have a couple of people speak for informational service, that we can get more information on the whole situation. And at that time, I'll open it up to the public. Mr. Scott.
What I'm providing here is we'll have a couple of slides that show where the poultry farm is currently being constructed. This is the shaded area is a half-mile radius from the poultry farm. This is the existing lot that's highlighted in red right here. This is the existing lot in question. This is where they are out there constructing the poultry farm right now. This is another poultry farm located in Columbia County. And I showed this poultry farm because I know the individual who lives at this piece of property that's located right here. I also know the individual who lives in this piece of property right here, which is on the outskirts of half a mile. This person, when he sits on his front porch, he can see the poultry farm. This is a modern day poultry farm, so I called and asked this individual right here, how about the smell? Said, during the winter, when it's very cold and the wind blows just right, there's a smell. I asked him, did it make him sick? Was there any problems with the smell? He said, no, he didn't have a problem. The poultry farm is actually very good neighbors to him. This individual right here, half a mile away, asked him the same question. Is there a smell to this poultry farm? No. He says, every once in a while, I get a whiff of something out in my backyard, but it's nothing that is very strong at this point right here. So again, this is a half a mile out from the existing poultry farm. This poultry farm, this is County Road 240. This is located on County Road 240. Similar operation is what is proposed in the south end of the county. However, this one is not as modern as the one that they're proposing, or the one they're constructing on the south end of the county. This slide, the reason I show this slide, this is a poultry farm right here. This poultry farm was built several years ahead of this subdivision. Again, we used a half-mile radius on all of our slides here. 100 homes built in this within a half a mile of the subdivision. The poultry farm did not stop construction of new homes close to the poultry operation. So, what's required of a poultry farm? How does the process work? It's been asked why didn't the county put a stop to this? Where's the county in this? I'm going to kind of explain the county's process with the poultry farm. Swine River Water Management District issued an environmental resource permit for this project. That is the permit that is required for management of stormwater runoff based on impervious areas. The county does not issue permits for agricultural use buildings. Counties are preempted from doing so by being.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
Explain impervious areas, so everyone can understand what that is.
Impervious areas means where the rain comes down, it's not going to soak into the ground. So where the rain is going to come down and it's not going to soak into the ground is the roof of the chicken houses. So they have to manage that water and where that water is going to go. And what they actually do on these locations is each chicken house is built up, and then they have a valley between the chicken houses so that when rainwater comes down off of the roof, it goes in the valley and is directed, however they're directed by the permit, so that water never gets into the chicken house so it's not in the ground where the chickens are located. They don't want their chickens to be ground. Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay. So the county does not issue permits for agricultural use buildings, and in fact, we're preempted by the Florida statute 553.73, subsection 10, subsection C, which states, The following building structures and facilities are exempt from the Florida Building Code as provided by law, and any further exemptions shall be as determined by the legislature and provided by law. Non-residential farm buildings on farms. These are definitely non-residential farm buildings. The zoning classification for this particular piece of property is Ag 3. The county's land development regulations allows for all agricultural activities except intensive agricultural uses within high groundwater aquifer recharge areas as defined by the county's comprehensive plan. So, what is intensive agriculture? Intensive agriculture means those farming and agricultural operations or uses requiring an industrial waste or wastewater permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Regulation or Protection, FDEP. Modern boiler operations do not generate waste or wastewater that would trigger a permit from FDEP. So again, there has been no permitting process other than the Water Management District's permit that was issued. This is a boiler operation that will compose and sell its generated waste. Waste produced by the broilers falls on sawdust when the broilers reach maturity, approximately 45 days. The waste is removed from the broiler house to a composting building unit and is sold. There is no manufacturing or storing of any fertilizer on the site. If so, a special exception would be required. However, they're not manufacturing and they're not storing fertilizer. They're storing a byproduct of raising the broilers. So, in conclusion, it appears that the owners and operators of the boiler operation of Wilson Springs Road have complied with all laws and regulations governing such activities.
Thanks, sir. Any questions from the board members? All good. We're going to go through what we got, 2 more people for that time. I'll let Linda. So next up, we're going to have Jason Scarborough from Pilgrim's Pride. We're going to keep order now. Everybody, that's all I ask. Even from you, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to share, I know there's some concerns of what's going on in the south end of Columbia County. I just want to share what our intentions are. We plan to build, we have contracted with the grower to build 12 43 by 510 poultry house. They will hold between 22 and 26,000 birds apiece. They'll have 5 to 6 blocks per year. We'll grow these birds to 5.5 to 6 pounds at 48 days. These poultry houses will produce approximately 15 tons of litter per house per flock. The litter will be removed from the house after every flock and placed in a concrete litter storage building. The litter will be sold after flock and be land applied on row crops or other agricultural operations. Litter is also used extensively in organic farming operations. These houses are computer controlled and have alarms which notify a grower of unsatisfactory conditions. Houses can be monitored from a cell phone or home computer to allow growers 24/7 protection. All of our farms are members of CARES and follow nutrient management and poultry best management practices. Builders will monitor all conditions on the farm weekly to ensure all animal husbandry, animal welfare, and environmental policies are in compliance. And if y'all got any questions, I'll answer any questions.
So for the board, I'll say what we're going to do is just you're going to hang around and then
Yeah, I'll
let
be here.
everybody that comes up, if they have a question, we're going to take their question and we're going to answer them.
Okay.
Get your title, please.
Live operations manager.
Lab operation.
Live.
Live, thank you.
Next up, we'll have Hugh Thomas. Is he here yet? Not, we'll go ahead and start with our public comment. The way we're going to do this is if anyone wants to speak on this matter, we're going to ask you to stand now. We're going to have everyone sworn in at one time by the clerk. Yes, sir. Okay, we don't have to stand.
But she did give us a preview of how many questions we'll talk.
What we'll do is we'll come up one at a time. Everyone has 2 minutes. If there's a question, you state your question in the time or you make your comments. And we're going to try to get anyone that wishes to speak up here. So, who'd like to be first? John. State your name.
I'm John Joplin. I'm a native of Columbia County, still a taxpayer, property owner in the south part of the county, and I'm here tonight in particular as president of the East Kentucky Alliance. I'm mindful of my time. Commissioners, we appreciate you having the time. We're aware, all of us that are concerned about water quality in this county are aware that this board has been sensitive to that and has in fact provided some leadership on that issue, and we appreciate that. But I'm here to tell you, I don't, and we don't want to be hysterical, we want to be fact-based. Our group has prided itself on that. So, and we don't know all the facts, and we'll acknowledge that. Here's what we do know. Chicken litter? We're not worried if these chickens are going to be throwing paper on the ground, by the way, but I don't think that's what chicken litter is. Chicken litter and human litter and every other kind of litter contains nitrates. The groundwater of this county, including that that's flowing in the East Kentucky River, is 15 times the natural rate and twice what even the Department of Environmental Protection of this state says it ought to be. If this county is willing to punt the obligation for deciding how to be good stewards of the resources of this county to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Swanee River Water Management District, then you haven't been paying attention, and I think you have been paying attention. I'm not here to argue with you about whether or not this county could have prevented this or not. I'd like to think you can, but I am here to tell you that if you can't, then your zoning laws need to be changed, and they need to be changed now. The idea of being able to put this much food, this much chicken, this many chickens, this close to some of the most valuable water sources in this whole region, some of the most sensitive, some of the most threatened water sources in this region, and that this county can't do anything about it by zoning is an insult. And we hope you're going to do something about it.
I'm Lucinda Merritt with the Kentucky Alliance. Also, on page 14 of the restoration plan that I just handed out, you see a map of nitrates in our water. We already know our water is polluted. In 2013, I attended a meeting of the Water Policy Advisory Committee of the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. One of the presenters was Wendy Graham, who's head of the Water Institute at the University of Florida. She had research that she presented to people, including Adam Putnam and Herschel Vineyard, who was head of DEP at the time, that showed that best management practices for agriculture do not work in the Swanee River Water Management District for row crops, turf grass, dairies, and poultry farms. So we know that even though people claim to use these BMPs, they don't work. We think a mistake has been made. We think you need to seriously think about changing your zoning, as John just said, so that this doesn't happen again. We need from you bold, strong, visionary leadership, not baby steps. We suggest having a public community conversation about what this community values, whether it's clean water for all of us or profits for a few individuals. This is not an attack on personal property rights. It's a discussion about responsible water stewardship. The same way that we agree to follow traffic laws, we need to agree on how to protect our springs, rivers, and the aquifer that supplies our drinking water. We'll be happy to help facilitate those conversations through our Water Voices program that we've been running in High Springs, and we plan to bring next year up to Lake City, and we want to include Wendy Graham and her research in that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Smith. I'm a resident of Columbia County and president of our Santa Fe River. a citizens-based organization to educate the public on how to protect, preserve, and restore our river streams and aquifers. We are very blessed to live in a part of the world that has water, still has water. There's satellite research, the 60 Minutes put on a program that's been going around the globe for the last 10 years. Our earth is drying up. Our springs are running at 50% of what they used to because of the quantity of water that's being withdrawn and because of the quality that's left. If you've already heard that the quality is already endangered by pollutants, we can no longer continue to do that to our water. We're drinking it, our children are drinking it, and we need to think bigger. You were elected because you have wisdom. You were elected to lead this community, to take care of our resources. This is a place that you need to change zoning and ordinances. We have nothing against poultry farms, but not when they sit on our aquifers and potentially leach their nitrates and pollutants into our water that we're already trying to protect. People come from all over the world to cave dive, to see the rivers. We know there's agricultural businesses coming to buy land because we have water. Water is so precious. You can not live without water. Nobody can live without water. Agriculture cannot succeed without water. Agribusiness, industrial projects in this zone have got to be looked at very carefully because we need to preserve what we've got. So please, as everybody else has asked, think big, think far. Do not leave a legacy of poisoning our waters. Leave a legacy of protecting our waters for our future. Thank you.
Good evening, Marilyn Malwitz-Gibson, Policy Director for our Santa Fe River. Actually, I was here a few weeks ago letting you know about this particular plant factory in our basin. Yes, please, can you present the LiDAR map that I have to the public? Oh, I'm good. I mean, you can just, as you go through it, you can find it. It's under industrial, poultry, industrial, poultry. That's the only one I'm not sure what that is. Can't find it. There's a lot in there. There, right there. Industrial poultry factory. There you go. And then the LiDAR. The first thing I'd like to present is the ERP permit. Oh, I'm sorry, one moment. Just so the public knows, this is what's in the ERP permit according to the landholders. Describe in general terms the proposed project system or activity. 12 new poultry houses with litter storage barn, generator building, and driveway. That's all. That's it. That's all we know about this. There is no other permit. There is no permit from you, and the ERP permit, that is all they have in here, despite the fact that it goes on to ask in this ERP process permit, one set of plans and drawings, calculations, environmental information, and other supporting documents that clearly and legibly depict and describe the proposed activities in sufficient detail to demonstrate the work qualifies for a special general permit. There's a sinkhole on that property. There's a depression underneath the dock that's pretty deep and steep and flows into the sinkhole next to the property. These are all anomalies from phosphate mining, but nonetheless they're close to the aquifer. I don't see that anywhere in this permit process. The other thing they submitted was a plan. I've been looking at a lot of plans lately, quarry plans. They usually have a topo underneath this drawing. There's no topographical underneath this drawing. All right, that's the first thing I want to present to you all. Next thing is, of course, the LDR information. And I do see in here that it requires an industrial and a wastewater permit, which they haven't presented. I don't know if I'm going to get through all these. There's so much information that you all do not have at your fingertips. I know the DEP has to be involved in issuing that. I'm working with them now. The other thing is a flume. Here's some maps that describe the aquifer basin. These are maps that show exactly what's underneath that dock in that basin between Fort White, which is up in the right-hand corner, and the Santa Fe River. If you look at these, you will know in your flume, your future land use element, that this is a high groundwater recharge area. And as far as
She's going to get one more minute, and she's going to
as far as impervious surfaces, it's sandy, loamy soil. They chose it for that purpose. This is not the place to put something like this. valuation analysis, which I did give to Joel. You're not Joel. You're not Joel. There's Joel, I'm sorry. I sent that last night to Joel. This is a really important document. If you all have not read that yet, you really need to. It covers health conditions. It covers all kinds of animal confinement operations in the United States since 2012. This is done by an analyst. It's a professional document with citations. You all really need to see that before you ever touch what was going on here. The other thing is abstracts on poultry, fertilizer, air quality, and nitrogen. These are abstracts. These are professionally reviewed papers that speak specifically to problems associated with poultry farms, especially 12 of them. The images that you showed us earlier, they were next to a river. There was only 4 or 5, I don't know, 5 houses. We're talking about 12.
Let's wrap it up.
Pilgrim's Pride violations.
Yeah.
And the impacts of chicken meat factory farming in the state of Georgia.
Hi, my name is Dennis Schemmel. I'm here to speak to the...
Could you restate your name louder, please?
My name is Dennis Schemmel,
Spell your last name.
S-H-A-M-E-L.
Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm here simply to speak to the rights of property owners in Columbia County, which reflect our tax base. In the document Marilee just mentioned to you, Greenfield Advisors noted many different things that affect our house values and different things. If these are just charts having to do with judgments that have been assessed and lack of property value after these farms go in. And it's really to do with stigma. It's not just, there is the impact of air, there's the impact of all these things, but it doesn't help when your neighborhood is next to a farm. It affects how you can sell your property in the future. It affects quite a few things, and I just think that we should think about that before we head into this, and just all the distances involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Eugene Dugan, Fort White resident. I don't have any scientific data like the other people before me. A lot of that was good information. They hit on the water a lot. I think that's important. The water helps bring money to Fort White. We have a lot of tourism that goes there. On top of that, I live very close to the kill zone. I don't know if half a mile does it justice. Your buddy lives to the south. We get a lot of southwest winds. A lot of neighborhoods right there in the northeast. Not to mention it's probably a mile from downtown. So we have a bad southwest wind. There's going to be a lot of smell there. I wasn't too concerned about this a couple months ago. I already know neighbors that are leaving, trying to sell their homes because they're that concerned about it. That drops the value. They're going to be in a hurry to get out. They're going to sell cheaper. That's financial impact to the whole county. I imagine the tax roll as well. So I've heard a little bit out. I saw how it's already zoned and we can't change that fact. But I know commissions can do what they want. There's such thing as eminent domain. There's other avenues, rezoning, whatever can happen. If we don't see, if this goes through, because this is apparently huge, some million chickens, well, I'll remember it on election day.
Scott Thomason, I live in unincorporated Fort White. I've submitted petitions with thousands of people that have signed, not just from Columbia County, but from the state of Florida and throughout the country. I'm going to read a couple things just from your own comprehensive plan. There's 3 basic reasons that you're often given the justified need for planning. meeting events which are expected to happen, accomplish desired objectives, and avoid unwanted conditions. Let me repeat that last one. Avoid unwanted positions. This chicken manufacturing facility is an unwanted condition in Fort White. Now, as far as I can tell, the owners of this project failed to properly inform the public of their intentions as required by the Suwannee River Management District. They required and had a notice in the newspaper. None was done. The owners have not fully disclosed their plans and information to the district, and the owners have shown complete disregard for the environment by the very likelihood that they have killed hundreds of gopher tortoises. I'm sorry. Endangered species. I spoke with a respected wildlife officer today, and he's confirmed numerous nesting sites on the small areas of undisturbed parts of the property. This is a felony in Florida. Now, I'm going to disagree with the county planner here. They're composting manure. Compost is fertilizer. In the LDR, storage and sales of fertilizer require a special exemption. None were given. None were given or applied for. And I'm going to tell you, I spoke with the commissioner earlier this week, and I was told that if you live in Ag 3, you buy an Ag 3, you should know that they're going to have, maybe have a chicken manufacturing plant.
Wrap it up, okay?
These people, I'm going to tell you, the people that live in Fort White, we're not commissioners, we're not planners. These are carpenters, truck drivers, veterans, school teachers, firefighters. These are hardworking Americans, all right, that just want to have a piece of property that they can enjoy life on. They want a piece of paradise. Please don't take this away from us. Thank you.
My name is Charles O'Donnell. I live in the Three Rivers subdivision, within a few miles of the poultry farm. But I wish to take exception to that right off the bat. I see poultry farm, I hear poultry farm discussed. This is a factory. This is not a farm. And farming and factory operations are two different things. And I think in our mindset, we should start thinking of this as a factory and the potential damage that you've heard so well presented tonight in terms of our water quality, number one, our river and our water quality. If that is even in danger, if any of what is being presented tonight is factual or possibly factual, I think it behooves the commission to actually step aside and say, do we need to put a moratorium on this until the environmental, the water and air quality issues are solved? Not to mention things like the existence of bird flu among children in areas where there are large not farms, factories. And that's the point I want to make. This is a factory, and they are storing grain. They need a special exception. We need the county to require them to apply for the special exception, which gives us time to show the county exactly how damaging this is potentially to our community and your community. Thank you.
My name is Debbie McClelland. I've been a taxpayer in Columbia County for about 36 years. I've seen a lot of things from Lake City. Being the only other incorporated town in Columbia County, I see that we don't get all of the county services that you get in Lake City. However, we are probably one of your largest tax bases. We would like to have more recognition in Lake City. I'm not going to just talk about the chicken farm. I'm going to say, since I've been a taxpayer here, we've had to fight batteries and tires in our river. We had to fight a cement plant. We had to fight people who want to drill beneath our rivers and put in pipelines that aren't needed. We've had to fight zero studies, zero rise studies. There is not another study that can be done in this county on what you are doing to the environment. I would like to ask you people to form a committee to go to the state of Florida and protect our environment once and for all, so we don't have to put any more people hours and dollars. You even asked your businessmen to spend their own money to come up with ways not to pollute the basin. I know this county has spent a lot of money on this issue. I own a home just downriver from Commissioner DeFrager. I'm having my well tested. I hope the next time I come before this commission is not to ask you to replace my well.
Amen.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Laverne Hodge. I'm a property owner, just about 1 mile to the northwest, catty corner from this piece of property. The reason I'm speaking here, I knew that there were going to be people that were very knowledgeable about all of these issues, and they have proven it to me. I just want to say one thing as a taxpayer and a former public servant for 35 years, deeply embedded in water management, water resources, wastewater, everything, that I can tell you that there were a couple of issues that I think the gentleman with the boat, I can't remember his name, brought up to the fact that if you're depending on DEP to solve this problem or help us, the people, or the environment, we're barking up the wrong tree, because the Department of Environmental, and I'm going to say it, I will make it a charge, the Department of Environmental Protection and 4 of the 5 water management districts have been corrupted by the money behind the Sable pipeline. I'm not saying that this particular factory, chicken factory, is any of those individuals, but there's a change coming. And the public employees, the elected people of this state, town, county, nation, they don't work for the billionaires, they work for us, and it's about time that we started protecting our water. There is no more water. When this is gone, it's gone. And anybody that thinks that there's going to be no environmental impact, and these people have already laughed at the environmental regulations that are already in place, no, I'm sorry. You need to say no. At least put a moratorium on it until all the people that have a stake in this are able to be heard.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Noreen Dinsmore, and I live on property bordering this chicken factory. I have a couple points to make. I really wasn't going to speak, so I'm going to be a little disorganized, but I feel I must. The gopher tortoises, they definitely destroyed some, because I have many on my property, and their property is similar to my property. So they destroyed them because they didn't look at anything when they come in here. I've been watching them. They just bulldozed everything, okay? 2, how are they going to transport this waste from the chicken house to the composting house? They're going to drop it. What, are they going to have a front end loader, which I would assume? So it's going to drop all over the side because they're not going to care because they don't live there. So it's going to go in that sinkhole and then right down into our aquifer. Another point, no, it's not moving touch. Another point I have to make is, yeah, dead chickens. Now we're talking about disease. We're talking about our children's health. We're talking about our health. We're talking about our wells. Okay? The other thing, what about the road? That road, when there is a heavy rainfall, they have to come down and patch it and patch it and patch it and patch it. Just because there was a rainfall? What are all these 18-wheeler chicken trucks, compost trucks, whatever they're called, grain trucks? What about the grain? Did I hear anything about the grain storage that is pumped full of antibiotics and growth hormones? And where is that going to be stored? That's going to be leaching right into the sinkhole, right into our aquifer. Okay? You guys put up a beautiful school in Fort White. I thought Fort White mattered to this county. And it really doesn't seem that way if you're not thinking about what's going in there. There's, that's really all I have to say. I'm so upset. I've lived there for many years. I moved here because I love the area. And you're taking it away from us. You're just destroying it. I think you should take a look at this. One other thing I'd like to ask. Has any of you come down to Fort White and come down and took a look at the property? So somebody, I thank you very much. At least you took the initiative to come down and look at it. Okay? And that thing on the half mile, your thing, that was 5 chicken houses. This is going to be 12 chicken houses.
My name is Pamela Melton. I have 4 properties in Wilson Springs. We have raised our daughters there, just my grandson Colby, and we have played in those rivers and lived there. Love that place. Everything I want to say has been said. I'm concerned about our rivers. I'm concerned about our health. I'm concerned about my well. I'm concerned about everything they've talked about. If you guys live there with y'all's families, with y'all's children, with y'all's grandchildren, it's been compromised, so we're going to be able to play in the springs anymore or in the Santa Fe. No money is worth it. No money at all. And I just pray that someone will step up. Please, someone step up. Thank you.
My name is Laura Daly, and I'm a taxpayer here in Columbia County. And I want to ask you all to seriously consider a moratorium on any further movement on this project until everybody's fully informed. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there are way more people in this audience that have gotten the facts and the information about this project than there are sitting on this board, and that's terrifying. So please, take the time that you need to take, that we have all taken out of our daily lives to educate ourselves about before you do irreversible damage to this aquifer. And I want to specifically direct one thing. My family has been in farming for 125 years. We've seen it all. My family has never used fertilizers or chemicals of any kind or pesticides. And we were rated 25 years in a row top organic farmers in the Midwest. So we've seen it all. We've seen that it can be done. We've seen that aquifers can be saved, and we've seen that we can be responsible stewards, and everybody can still make a good living. The most important thing, besides our aquifer, for everybody to think about is this: bird flu. We don't talk about it very much because we don't know very much about it, but we do know one thing. Bird flu is carried by migratory birds. This property is smack in the middle of a migratory flyway. 2 years ago, my cousin lost 8 million chickens to bird flu. His property required every truck and every person that drove onto that property to be decontaminated with chemicals so that no truck brought bird flu in and no people took bird flu out. His birds were killed by migrating birds that stopped at holding facilities, the litter holding facilities, and the storage facilities for corn. They ate there, they pooped there, that corn was turned into feed, and 48 hours later, 48 million chickens were killed. Where do those bodies go? Do they have a mitigation plan for bird flu? These are really critical things that this company needs to present to this board before you make any decisions. Please, this is a very serious issue and it's on your head.
All right.
showed, that's from the center of the property, I assume? So if you want to look at a half a mile from the nearest chicken house to my property, which part of my property is in that radius, I don't think that you went half a mile out from the chicken houses. So the Ohio Health Department did a study and showed that within a half mile radius of the chicken farms, the flies were 84 times higher than normal. I have a beautiful piece of property, we have 40 acres there, that we were so happy to get. And you want to allow these chicken farms to move into a populated area, less than a mile from the town, and cause noxious fumes, possibly damage our water, all kinds of things. It is much like the smoking ban. These people do not have a right to come in here and bring their ammonia and the problems that they bring to us. If they could keep everything in a bubble, I have no problem with agriculture. Keep all their problems on their own property and that would be fine. But it's going to affect all of us, and that is not fair to us. I don't know why you are for this farm, because it's not going to bring in additional taxation. It's actually going to decrease the taxes. The road is a county road, it's going to have to be fixed from all these semis. I don't understand why you all even want this here. The other thing is, as someone brought up, you mentioned buildings with 4 or 5 chicken houses, and these are 12. That's a significant difference. There is no proof of how this farm is going to be managed. We had a gentleman from Pilgrim's Pride come here and tell us, do you see a permit that describes it? Is there anything on paper that was approved that describes it? And the last thing that I'd like to say is that I don't understand how this can't be considered anything but a centralized animal feeding operation. And the Environmental Protection Agency had something to say about that. There were a lot of permits that have not been done. Last thing is, Brianna wrote something she'd like me to read. It says, it should be moved to a place without very many people. It will ruin our road with all the semis coming through the chickens.
Hello, I'm Karen Mullins. I live in Fort White. I'm not a public speaker. I have chickens. I was going to bring some chicken litter to share with you people. What you're going to be bringing to us. I have 2 chickens, but they manufacture enough fertilizer for me to use on my little garden. This project shouldn't be allowed in our community because we have pristine water, we have our rivers, we have tourism, we have, it's the potential for damage is too great. Thank you.
I'm going to address mine to Mr. DePratt. I called you several days ago, very upset, crying.
Your name?
My name is Teresa Cooner.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
And I called you very upset because I live only 1 lot over from this chicken house. You don't tell us anything on the telephone. You simply tell me you didn't have a dog in this fight. Well, I got news for you. We all got a dog in this fight.
Yes.
Our livelihood. I've lived in this property for 21 years. And I have not, and mine's agriculture just like everybody else's around there. But I'm not going to bring chicken houses into a property that all these people are trying to have a life. And you're going to ruin our rivers? What's wrong with you, Mr. DePratter? Aren't you our commissioner? Aren't you supposed to be helping us? I am addressing this to you, so I would like your attention if possible. You know, maybe that's what's wrong here. You haven't given anybody any attention because you really need to look at this. And I tried to speak to you about it. You were very rude and disrespectful to me on the telephone. But that's okay because voting does come around. But I have to tell you right now, we already have problems with our water. My water right now is beginning to smell like sulfur. The people behind me had to move out of their house 3 weeks ago because their well went dry. So you're talking about a lot of people around here that is not going to have a livelihood because why? Somebody wants to make money with chickens? Go find a place that there is nobody. We don't want this under us. I don't want to sit at my dining room table and start to eat a chicken dinner and smell the chicken. I mean, come on. Y'all stop and look at this. You're running South Columbia County. You sit here with smiles on your face, that's fine. It's not affecting you because y'all don't live there. But we do. And we go out there and if it takes being mean and angry and getting up thousands of people, what did you tell me on the telephone? You're one of the few. I'm one of the few, that's right. And I'm going to be one of the few that's going to be out there voting when it comes time to vote again. So if you don't want to help us, Mr. DePratter, then I suggest you go ahead and resign from your position. Because you are. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Vicki McLean. I live just through the woods a little bit from this thing. I already have breathing problems. I have lung disease. All right, I have had H1N1. I wanted to die. We don't need this for our health, our roads, the environment, our economics. Nobody's going to buy a house next to this thing. Would you buy one next to this thing? I mean, none of y'all would go and buy a house right now next to the door of this thing. I don't care if it was $100 an acre, you would not do it. So take it to somebody who's had that disease and has another one. It's not fun. But by God, I'll stay on my property. Because I love it. We've been there for 37 years. My parents and now me. But y'all need to come down there and look. That was woods for animals, for filter for our waters, for the gophers. It's nothing there now. A sand pit. Just think about it. Would y'all live there?
I realize this is my second time on the Burn Hodge. I won't take 2 minutes. I have one question and one point to make. First, the question is, how much water are these people going to be withdrawing from our aquifer to keep these million chickens hydrated? Where's that water coming from? How's it going to be treated? Prior to feeding these chickens require water. They're living things. And that water is going to have to come from somewhere. And I would like to know where that proposal, where the permit is for the well, because there's no city water out there. The other point that I would like to make was the county planner, I believe, was saying about the existing chicken farm, which is a farm, not necessarily a factory like is being proposed. That was there before the subdivision was built. That says everything. That says everything. Because whenever my husband and I bought our property 20-something years ago, paid taxes on it for 10 years and let it sit, built a house, we paid residential tax rates on 12 acres because we will not change anything. There's a third of an acre of land cleared, and the rest of it is a habitat for the endangered species that live there, and it will be. And I'll see to it after I die, too.
Thank you, ma'am.
But the point is, those people that built that subdivision after that, they knew that was there. They knew that it was agricultural. We bought ours, it was agricultural, and the people around us had goats, which is not really, it's ugly, but it doesn't cause the kind of damage that this will cause. And I just wanted to point that out. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make that.
Yeah.
to move towards that direction, like she said, Pam. We would like to leave a legacy of our aquifer to our children. This is just not the right place. We need to revisit. But I would like to see a moratorium on the chicken farm. I don't believe all the facts have been disclosed. And I would like to see these laws changed so that we don't have to come back here and talk to you guys again. I'd like to see this looked at comprehensively. I would like Graham's work to be looked at seriously. This is scientific research that you guys have been asking for years. Here it is. Let's make use of it, please.
I'm Christine Sandquist, and I live in the circle.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Yes, S is in Sam, A-N-D-Q-U-I-S-T. I don't know how many of you, or how many of you have lived near a chicken farm. I have. Grew up near one. Much smaller operation, yes, sir.
I live near one.
Okay, good. Then you know that there are times, not constantly, but there are times that odors are there and that the flies are heavier. And sometimes it gets really nasty. And they're talking about the compost pile that's going to be there. I've never heard of an enclosed manure composting. Maybe there is, but I don't know anything about that. I do remember that there were rats and mice after the chickens, after the feed, and they had to poison them. And some of them died inside the chicken houses. I don't know anything about those. I do know about some of them that they tossed outside the chicken houses, and they were infected. Local cat, dogs, eating those died. We had neighborhood cats and dogs that died because they ate the poisoned rats. The semis will be going down there. This is only a 4 or 5 mile stretch of land, and it shouldn't be ruined by something like this. And this is ruination. I would be willing to bet that the lady or man that owns this land, that is leasing it to this chicken factory, would not build her house next to it, or his house next to it. And I know that you all have the power to stop this. And I hope you use what you know and do that. Somebody was talking earlier about coulda and shoulda, or you could do something, you should do something. Look at it this way. You can let it go on, or you can stop it. Do what you should here. Thank you.
My name's Donald Cooner. I live in that circle. As my wife said, our wells always start to go bad, and our neighbor behind us, theirs is dried up. Y'all not consider talking about the water, how much water they drink? Well, we investigated that. 30,000 chickens in 30 days drinks approximately about 2.5 million gallons of water. 90,000 chickens, about 5 million in a 30-day period. That's on the internet. That's where you look it up. I have a video on my phone from a North Carolina farm factory that has 14 houses. And the people that live across from it can't sell their house. Their house stays full of flies. They can't kill the flies. I got it on video on my phone. If someone would like to look at it, it's there. But that is a fact. We looked it up, and it does. That's how much water they use. And I don't know where they're going to get the water from. That's going to have to be an awful big well. The feed, the smell, the noise from the fans. When they open those buildings up and turn them fans on, everybody's going to hear it within a mile. I guarantee you, them some big fans. So, yeah, that's what I just wanted to tell you all that.
Hey there, my name is Bob Hagen. I live in Columbia County, Oklahoma. One of the things that I have heard some incredible work done by these people out here in the south end of my county, trying to prove to you guys this is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Let's explain something else. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the chicken farm company knows it's a bad thing. Because if it's been a good thing, they'd have put up a billboard and said, look, folks, we're bringing all this wonderful stuff to your community. No, they didn't. They counted on them being able to slide in here under the radar, and they wanted to get this thing done before anybody had an idea of what was going on. Well, you know, it may still be a day late and a dollar short. But the reality of it is, I believe, if the county commission wants to do the right thing, they can stop it. We don't need a moratorium. It's a bad thing. There's road going out Wilson Springs, there's a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit all the way out to the end. You know why? Because it's a lot more narrow than any other road in the area. 45 miles the whole way. It'll destroy the roads. It's just bad all the way around. If, like I said, these people, they were counting on us being a bunch of dumb rednecks and letting this thing slide in here without it being stopped by us. And we're wanting to stop. And we're putting our trust in the officials that we elected to do the right thing.
I'm a Fort White resident, and I'll just be very brief, because I just want to piggyback on what that gentleman just said, is that this is a very heated, emotional issue for all of us who do live in this area, but we are just a small portion of the people that are very concerned about this, and we're respectively asking what it is that possibly you all could do to help us, because just yesterday, approximately around noon, maybe a few minutes after, an online petition was generated on change.org, and there's already over 1,237 signatures. That's since noon yesterday. We're just a small slice of the pie. It's not just the residents who live there, it's all of us who want to continue enjoying this environment, and we all have a responsibility to protect it. So please, can we see about any environmental impact studies, anything done? Because I don't want to beat the dead horse or a dying chicken, but this does not appear to be a modern chicken facility. This is people coming in through the back door. So if it's a modern facility, there are professional plans drawn, not handwritten. There's thank you. There's protocols. There's quite a few steps, including our environmental studies. None of this, permits, none of this has been presented. So not only are you unaware, we were unaware, but now that we're finding out, there are a lot more people than what's representative here, and we'd like, respectively, for everyone to consider what is being done. Thank you for your help.
Good afternoon. My name is Sheldon Wilkerson. I'm a taxpaying resident of Columbia County. My grandfather was born here over 100 years ago. I want to thank everyone that had the time to do the research. As has been pointed out, this all slid in under the wire. I read the newspaper every day. I'm also a semi-truck driver. I haul chickens from Florida to California. I know what a trailer load full of dead chickens smells like. I know what the runoff looks like. And I know that they're bringing it to my backyard where I now walk with my granddaughter. I want to thank everyone for their time, everyone that took the time to do the research I did not have time to do. Don't take this away from my granddaughter. This is our heritage. This is our livelihood.
My name is Norman Bigner. I live directly south of this, where the chicken houses are going in. There's a quarter section there, Briar Patch Estates, and I'm the secretary treasurer of that association. And lots of things concern me. You know, I sure do want my property reassessed if all this goes through. And the president of this organization lives across the street from me. I didn't see him here tonight. And you maybe get angry with me about what I'm about to say. But Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, any one of you that cares to show up, the principals of a Vietnamese couple that has the money behind this, that's doing it, that bought that property, she and her husband are going to be there Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. And we're talking about Wilson Springs Road and Briar Patch Terrace. Come on.
My name's Dorothy Crawford. I've lived in this area in Fort White about 12 years, and it is a little spot of heaven on earth. I'm going to draw you a parallel here if you'll allow me. I came from Amarillo, Texas, where when I lived there in 1970, it was about 200 feet to drill a well. The land was primarily open rangeland. In the early 80s, they declared agriculture land. It went to 1,200 to 1,500 feet to drill a well. And as of 2007, the reservoir there, huge reservoir that was 120 feet deep when I moved there, went totally dry because the water was gone from agriculture drawing the well. So the reason I'm saying this is a parallel. Those aquifers have been destroyed. The water is gone. It's not going to be back. And the whole lifestyle of that area has changed.
My name is Bethany Pierce. My husband and I moved our 2 children into Fort White 14 years ago. And just to give you a glimpse of what we thought about it, is we took over the Memorial Day weekend. Our house in St. Petersburg was on sale Tuesday morning. We moved up here. Our oldest daughter graduated. Our youngest daughter is now graduating this year, going to school with the same kids she went to in kindergarten. That's the life we want for our kids. It's the life we want for our grandkids. This factory came in under the radar, like everyone's been saying. So, what makes you think that they're going to be honest about the way they're going to treat the ground, the animals? Obviously, they're already taking the gopher turtles out or destroying the nest. So, with the water runoff, are they ever going to clean the chicken houses? Where's that water going? I had my daughter tested probably about 8 years ago, and the lady at the county office said it was the best water she's seen, the test. If you guys put this in there, I want to see what it's like. If it's worse than what it is, you guys can buy my property. How much taxes is this company going to pay? Are they tax exempt?
I don't believe the taxes, until they're finished, I don't think it'll be assessed by the property price.
So they're going to pay tax?
They will be taxed.
What did they bring into Fort White besides chicken crab? Are they going to put money into Fort White? Are they going to put money into the So that's what I want to know. I've lived here 14 years. I finally have a grader who grades my road beautifully now. It took me 14 years to get someone that actually knows how to grade the road. What are you guys going to do to that little tiny 2-lane road on Wilson Springs when these semis are coming up and down? How fast are you going to fix it?
What do you mean? How fast are you going to fix it?
How fast are you going to fix that little road with all these 18-wheelers going up and down it? How many children are going to be standing outside the road with 18-wheelers going up and down the road waiting for the school bus at 6 o'clock in the morning?
We'll address those questions when it's over.
I think you guys made a huge mistake allowing this in there. Huge mistake.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anna Levan, and I'm a tax-paying Fort White resident.
I'm speaking firstly because I wanted to add my voice to all the objections you've heard this evening. But I do want to add one thing that hasn't been spoken about, and it's probably not very popular. But this is the humane and ethical issues around this terrible, terrible industry. As it currently stands, there are no federal laws to protect chickens raised for food. And the routine abuses and suffering that they endure is beyond the law. Pilgrim's Pride is the second largest chicken producer in the world. As of 2012, the New York Times had them processing about 9.5 to 10 billion chickens a year. Now, I've been researching Pilgrim Pride in the last day or so, and I feel the pages with its repeated and flagrant repeated unusual violations, occupational health, safety and legal standard violations, inhumane slaughter violations, lawsuits, and let's not forget the recalls. They've had some of the biggest recalls in the USA. But I do want to focus on Georgia. It's the chicken producing capital of America. The grow business alone there brings in $3 billion. And guess what? Pilgrim Pride own most of those factories. Oh, and let's not call them farms nor factories, because that makes us more of an idyllic, countryside, rural, pastoral scene. No, these are concentration camps. These are chicken concentration camps. In 2012, Georgia's Department of Poultry, GPP for short, it's a multi-agency advocacy group, issued a report that, in a nutshell, said what this industry is doing to Georgia. Now, I know it's Georgia.
Go ahead and wrap it up.
I know it's Georgia, but what's happening in Georgia can happen anywhere across the country and is happening. Let me tell you what goes on in these sheds. They house up to about 30,000 chicken in each shed. And what's going to happen in Fort Wayne? They're building, what are they building? My good friend Mary Lee told me they're building barns 44 feet by 500, and that can house up to 80,000.
No, ma'am, it's not 80,000.
Yes,
Hold it, now we can declare the meeting in just a minute. We're not going to speak from the audience. That's what we're trying to hold down. We're going to let Mr. Thomas speak when the time comes.
Anyway, we've been doing the maths. And
But we need to wrap it up, okay?
Anyway, we've been doing the maths, so that gives these chickens like 3 square inches of space. The sheds are dimly lit to keep them constantly eating. You know, back in 1925, it took chickens 16 weeks to get to 2.5 pounds. Today, they're 3 times that size in 6 weeks.
Okay,
That puts a huge strain on their hearts, their lungs, their lips. They're deformed. They spend much of their lives in their own waste. They can't support themselves. They're so huge.
Ma'am.
They're full of ammonia birds.
Everybody's been fair about time. Now you pay your
Please
time.
read this report.
Thank you.
We don't want this happening.
Melissa Dugan, Fort White. Yeah, lots of back. I want to ask you guys, so, did you want to do that chicken plan?
We can't hear you, ma'am.
The big industrial, okay, your building, who'd you live right behind
I
you?
live half a mile from the chicken farm, he lives on chicken farm.
We're going to address the board, ma'am,
How many houses?
today.
Okay.
Let's
Well, you
address
said
the
we were here
board.
for questions.
Well, we're going to do that when we get through now.
Okay, so I apologize, then I'll step down. Thank you. I mean, they
You
both
got a
have backs
question,
and
you got a question, give us the question and we'll have it.
it was just, I just wanted to ask them if they're the ones that, involved in it. I want to know if they would be there living there.
Okay, I'll ask them all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbara Knudsen. I live on 47 here in Fort Wayne. I have a question that has to do with money and finances. Did the company get any money from the state of Florida of economic opportunity and development? Did the landowner get any cost share from the U.S. Department of Agriculture or from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services? These are financial issues that are rarely discussed. But I think it's important because our tax money is what supports all of these agencies that are supposed to be helping us.
Anyone else? We're only going to speak one time now.
Well, I'm Donald Smith. I also live in Fort White.
You've already been up, haven't you?
That was a public hearing call.
I apologize. I just remembered you being there. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not perfect. I apologize.
Okay.
Sorry.
I live in Fort White down in Hollingswood Bluffs. I'm in the neighborhood where this thing's going in. I worked up at Timco here for 18 years, and I go home different ways, different times, and everything else. And I assume that you people are the ones that put up the different road signs. There are signs over on 245, which is like west of or east of 441, that say this creek drains into Ichitecony Basin, and the signs all over the place. This creek and that creek ends up draining into Ichitecony Basin, and we're talking about 20 miles away from that area. So that tells me that you people are very much aware of how sensitive this area is, and that you want all of us to know how sensitive this is. Right there on 47, there's a sign, Ichitecony Basin, and a little picture of a scuba diver on it. So, you guys put these signs up, so you're telling us that this is a very precious area that we have to take care of, and you're making sure that we do. So now, you're going to put a chicken thing right there in the middle of the Ichitecony Basin? Really?
My name is Paul Varsha. I own a hardware store in Fort White. These are my customers. I was raised on a chicken farm in Ellisville. I know chickens. And I lived with them. Now, they've come a long way, I guarantee you, from the way we used to have chickens. So the smell is going to be there. You can't hide the smell. And then we're in a very sensitive area with the rivers. And you all know that. I know you are very well aware of that. Whatever you can do, we need to do. We need to stop these chickens in this. It's almost a subdivision out there now. And their way of life is the way it is. And the roads out there are in good shape right now, thanks to our commissioner and the other people that have done it. They're not going to be that way long. They just won't handle the traffic. I'm a highway engineer also. They won't handle the traffic. And there's probably no impact on that. And I'm through early. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's Lawrence Hamley. I live in Three Rivers Estates, and I only have one simple question. This is such a wonderful, nice, idyllic poultry farm. Why has it been rushed in with little or no public opinion? And where is the press in this county? Where is our local press? I just learned about this last night, and I listen to the news all the time. Thank you.
My name is Matt Stevens. I don't know why Matt Stevens. My wife wanted me to bring it back.
Can you speak a little closer to
wanted to be to bring up the issue about, she has pretty nice horses, about flies and other things, and a pollution, she's worried about the health of those horses, and she's put a lot of work into. Also, my main thing is when I wanted to take advantage of the gentleman from Pilgrim's Pride being here, when he gets back up, I was just hoping he could touch on some issues such as do you require any best management practices with a contract with this JTC Farms? How are chicken carcasses disposed of? How much water will this operation size use per month for everything from drinking, cooling, and cleaning? And please explain what your contract with JTC Farms requires for them to mitigate pollution, smell, flies, rats, everything else. There are lots of information.
All right.
Hello, I'm James Richardson. I'm a resident and business owner in downtown Fort White. The planner put a map up showing other chicken houses, and none of those were 1.5 miles from downtown. This is from downtown Fort White. I think it's going to affect our economy. If you can't understand it's going to affect the water and everything else, then I don't know what more to be said. I'm so proud of my community. God bless you guys. And I just want to point out that, if that was your base comparison, none of those chicken farms were a mile from downtown. That shouldn't matter, shouldn't it?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kim Little, and I live in Fort White, and I'm here to also turn in about 90 signatures that we collected on Monday. We went to the Fort White City Council to talk with them about the situation, which several of the council members there were not aware that this was even going on in Fort White area, just within a mile of their city limits area. This also is a farm that's being put in a basin area of land, not a high-level area. So this is an area where there's a fog that sets in, so there's a lot of issues with being a low-level area in a basin where the water and so forth does go directly into the river. So my main concern of this is because of our water quality and such, of what we're doing to our river. Our area is a tourism area, and it is for a lot of the money that's made in the south end of the county that pays a lot of the taxes, because we have the tourism of the tubing and so forth that we want to continue to have. And the state park makes a lot of revenue for the state of Florida by our river system. So we need to protect that and be able to continue to have that for the state of Florida, and have that revenue that we do. And the Itchutney Park does generate a majority of the money in the state of Florida from that park. So I wanted to turn in these 90 signatures that we did collect the night of Monday when we went to the commissioners to speak about this information.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Lance, and I'm a citizen of Fort White. I'm a public speaker either. This is a lot of public comment, a lot of discussion. I'm wondering what the possible action items from the commission is going to be. There's been a lot of information proposed, and I'd just like to know what the possible action could be, what the possible motions could be.
I think you're a little ahead of the game, but any comments on the subject that we're talking about? Let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, that's just my comment, because I was just wondering what this is leading to.
Definitely address that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Clarence Williams. I live right across the line, right from the chicken factory. I really didn't have any idea why they were clearing the property like they cleared it. All the truckloads of filter came in to raise the elevation of the property. Had no idea what was going on. None of you people told any of us what was going on there. You have one to hide it from us, of course. So I'm really ashamed to know these people. You
a minute.
leave.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Before you start making accusations, I didn't know about this till 2 weeks ago. So I don't know about taking trees down. I don't know about taking trees down, all in field there, so don't say we did anything underhand.
We're here to talk about the subject, not here to bash people, I hope.
Well, you had to speak some. We found out that the gopher turtles, we had some come across those in our property. Also, the property out there percolates very well. During hurricane, I believe it was Ivan Gene, we were without power for 2 weeks. We had a lot of water. Roads were closed between Fort White and 441 was one of them. There were certain spots where it was closed. The water percolates very well. It goes down to the aquifer or down to the cave system. Now, during heavy rains and what have you, there are storage for compost, chicken manure, like it's all going to be covered in containers and everything that water can't get to, overflow, and get into the aquifer, I guess. Do people know it all? So that's why we voted Jim. But that's all I got to say. My water well is very nice water, and I hope it stays in there. If it doesn't, the world will know it. I'm hand radio operator, and I'll tell you. Thank you, sir.
Sandy, my name is Stu Lopez, the publishing editor of the Columbia County Observer. I'm 6.5 miles south of the thriving metropolis of Fort White, and apparently the home of the Brazilian chickens. At least that's what some people want. The only reason I came up here is to share with my friend Mr. Nash, Commissioner Nash, something I sent to the county attorney a while back. It's a Supreme Court case called Garrison versus Louisiana. And it was ruled on by the Supreme Court 9-0. And the opinion was that the public has the right to criticize their public officials. So whether or not Mr. Nash knew about it until 2 weeks ago, that's fine. It's something I don't know that I would have admitted tonight, but I appreciate your honesty. But the public has a right to criticize their public officials, and really an obligation as taxpayers and citizens of America. A lot of people fought for that, right? Me included. So I would appreciate if we all just understand that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got something to say. To my good friends who live there, there's a difference between criticizing and accusing. Defining.
All right. Anyone else?
I did not use my full 2 minutes.
Sorry. Sir, we're not going to do that now. Come on.
I'm still Charles McDonald, and I'm only going to take about 30 seconds to wrap all this up.
Wrap it up now. Okay, go ahead.
To wrap this up from my perspective, I do believe that the good people on the commission have learned enough tonight, and the fact that you didn't know about it until 2 weeks ago is an indication that this thing is being under the rug, being done under the rug. And the fact of the matter is, I think you've heard enough tonight to see that there may be some serious environmental threats to our community. And just the fact that it's possible it could happen, I think that you should require the owners of this property to file a special exception at which all these issues can be explored and the dangers to our community can be actually brought out in the open rather than not discussed publicly. Thank you, sir.
I'm Sue Karcher. I'm also a resident of Fort White, and I just want to be put on the record as being completely against this factory. I would also suggest that maybe the county buy this property back and maybe put your solar farm on it.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Pamela Setti. I'm not a resident of this
county action in Alachua County, but I'm already concerned about what's going to happen downstream where I live, so I wanted to attend the meeting tonight. I gather you guys probably feel a little beat up tonight because it's such a heated issue, but I wanted to read something to you that I read on the National Association of Counties website. It's pretty interesting. An effective county commissioner can leave a legacy of good works and make an impact on people's lives. It is the closest level of government to the people, and one that provides the greatest challenge and creates the greatest leaders for the future. So we're trusting in you guys to really check this out and do the right thing for all of us, for the people. And you are one of us, so don't forget that. And everybody test your wells.
Hello, my name is Doug Gibson, Jipson. I am a property owner on the Santa Fe River. I do have a lot of concerns, but I kind of think that what we're talking about is a decision. You guys have to make a decision. And sometimes when I make decisions, you can put down 2 columns. You can put pros and cons. And then you kind of see what it looks like. So cons, you got avian bird flu, pollution, smell, traffic. It goes on and on. You've heard some really good testimony tonight. Where's the profit? Where's the other side? Is it just a dollar sign? Is it your dollar signs? Is it county? I don't see the pro. Thank you very much.
Mr. Thomas, make it. You, Thomas? Would you like to address this now? Tell us your name and who you are.
Hugh Thomas from the Florida Department of Agriculture, Office of Ag and Water Policy.
Okay.
And I'm here tonight to speak about the best management practices that are to be implemented on this farm. And as a man, I appreciate the comments that were made earlier by the gentleman from Ellisville over there that has grown up around poultry farms. And that they have the technology and the practices themselves has changed for the better over the years, as have a lot of practices, not just those with agriculture. You look at residential septic systems, toilet, water saving, conservation practices, there have been improvements made. And those improvements extend to the poultry industry as well. Years ago, the Swanee River Partnership started back in 1999 to work with the dairy and the poultry operations to try and address the implementation of best management practices and getting those practices on the ground. And for poultry operations, there was concern years ago from the way that the poultry litter was stored. It was actually stored bare ground. It was subject to rainfall and potential leaching. However, that's not the case. Over the years, the Swanee River Partnership, with funding from the Department of Agriculture, the State Department of Agriculture, the USDA Department of Agriculture, and the Water Management District here, have implemented these practices to try to protect our resources, these best management practices. And by doing that, in this particular operation, covering this litter that's cleaned out, certainly composting it and utilizing it in an organic fertilizer fashion is beneficial. Now, it's my understanding with this property that none of the litter will be applied on the property. It'll be contained, as well as the animal mortality. There is a drone composter. There's numerous types of drone composters, but there is one that's planned to be used at this facility to account for all of the animal mortality. That then will be contained, and the leachate that is a result of that product will actually be contained and containerized and transported off-site as well, along with the composted litter that's there. And so there's not, from an environmental perspective, I don't know if you've been able to review what the Swanee River Water Management District's findings were with the environmental resource permit. But the site assessment that 2 of their staff made earlier this week is that they had no concerns with the way that the operation was being administered. The permit was being followed, the conditions were being followed, and that there wasn't a resource concern. And so from that perspective, the practices that will be implemented at this farm are best management practices, the latest technology that's available today with this one.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I talked to them the other day, they told me they're putting a hay field in. They told me they're putting a hay field in, I talked to them. Not only that, the
Please, just a
woman who
minute.
has
Just
the
a minute.
land sent an email to our Briar Patch Homeowners Association and said if she doesn't get to use our private road, that what she's gonna do is make it really smelly, and it's in an email.
Okay. We're going to stop speaking from the crowd. Please stop.
Can we question the gentleman?
Yes, I think that's why we have questions.
Do you have a question that he didn't answer?
Yes. It would be question time. It's question time.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there was a question from the 30th speaker, and I think I will address this to the builder or the owner.
Okay.
Is there here, the owner?
No, the owner's not here.
The owner is not here.
That question was whether he state.
Okay, please.
Go ahead, Commissioner Reed. That question was wanting to know whether any state money was awarded to that contract for the construction of the facility.
Does anyone know that? Do you know that?
The only part that I can speak to towards that.
Let's go to Mike, please.
Okay, fine.
Can you repeat the question, please? So we can
Mr.
hear it?
Knudsen asked if any money from Florida Department of Agriculture, U.S. Department of Agriculture, went to the owner-operator.
I've asked him already.
I cannot speak on behalf of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but from our office of ag water policy within the Department of Agriculture, the minister, there's not been any funding administered to that farm, that landowner. No, we have not funded Pilgrim's Pride.
Pilgrim's Pride funded to do that? No, sir. No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, please. Who's going with the
We're going
permit?
to take about 5 questions, and I'm going to wrap the questions up. Okay, the
Who's
5
going to
questions.
permit the well?
Come forward. Yeah, we're just going to come up. Then we're going to address some of the answers that told you would, and then we'll be moving on.
Who's permitting the well? The ugly rumor is that they're only putting in an 8-inch well and they don't need a permit. I've never heard of such a thing. Because I would like to put in a well without a permit. I'd like to answer my question.
Sure. Brandon?
The county does not issue well permits, that's issued by Swanee River Water Management District.
Oh, no.
The county is not responsible for well permits, that is issued by the Swanee River Water Management District.
I beg to differ. They issued my permit.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Speaking of the Water Management District, I have a copy of their permit right here. On the second page, it says, as permitting and/or operation and maintenance entities, your responsibility to ensure that adverse off-site impacts do not occur either during or after construction. Any additional construction or alterations not authorized by this permit may result in flood control or water quality problems, both on and off-site, and will be a violation of district rule. They have been manipulating land. They've been bringing in fill dirt. They have violated this permit. All right? This shows they don't care. Do the right thing. They are not to be trusted. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Addendum to my question then, is the Swanee River Water Management District going to take them away?
Ma'am, we're not
I'd
going
like
to do
an
that.
answer to my question, sir.
My
Who's going to
question,
give them the permit?
Lou Merritt with the Itchitucky Alliance again. My question is for Hugh Thomas. Hugh, do you then disagree with the findings of Wendy Graham of the UF Water Institute, who says that best management practices are not effective in the Swanee River Water Management District for poultry farms?
In order to address Dr. Graham's report, that refers to land apply the litter. In the case of this operation, there won't be any land application of the litter.
Fertilize the hayfield that she's putting on the.
Please, ma'am, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I live out there. I talk to
Talk
people.
to me, just a minute. Your name?
Stephanie Blanchard.
Okay.
I live in Briar Patch Estates Homeowners Association. I am right behind all this. It is our private road that is going in there, that goes right beside her road. Matter of fact, the initial plan that she submitted to the county shows her using our road two ways, coming in and going out with all of her needs in and out on our road. It's a privately deeded road. Nobody had any questions. They told her, go ahead, sure, use their road. They maintain it all by themselves with their own funds, but go ahead, use their road. That's real good. And I was just told the other day, because they thought it was going to make me feel better. Well, she's going to have a hayfield. So maybe if you have horses, you can buy hay from her. How does that make you feel? Well, that makes me feel like it's going to stink 24 hours a day for weeks on end when she fertilizes the hayfields. That's how it makes me feel. Not only that, I was told by the people building the chicken coops, I feel so bad for you because your property values are worth half right now, and it will stink all the time.
Okay.
Then she sent an email to our homeowners association, and she said it's costing her too much right now to build her own Lime Rock roads. If she doesn't get access to our road, she can make it really stinky. So what kind of person is this? And who took my house? I put my house up for sale 1 month before all this happened. You know who wants to buy it? Nobody. 8 people have come out and looked at it. They love my house, but nobody wants to live next to the chicken coop.
All right, thank you. We're gonna hold up right
30
there.
years, 7 days a week for my house.
Ma'am, we're not gonna do that now. Please.
Please let her talk.
Do something about it.
Go ahead, Ms. Coon. This is gonna be the last comment.
I've just got one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 110, 15, 20 acres across the street from the chicken farm. And of course, it's for sale, it's
Good luck.
it's 10-acre plots and I've got it for sale. But I want to know how the Swanee River Management got their permit. They got a permit so quick, it took me a year. They came out and they questioned me about the water, the wells, everything, and they had that sinkhole there. How come the Swanee River Management didn't get that?
All right. Jason, you want to say anything, or you? Jason, come on up to the podium, please.
I didn't intend to come to this. When I came, I didn't intend to say anything. Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Crowder?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you know about this?
I knew about 30 days ago.
And you
About the time we're down.
I feel like we're
30,
all,
45.
we're all against you, or you're against us, is what I feel. That's the sense that I get from this whole meeting, that we should just go away, but we're here, and we elected you to do the job for us and be our representative. And it's just like, it's just, the whole atmosphere just seems like it's turned around, and you're with whoever, why all these outside organizations are so interested in seeing this go through. There's got to be some money somewhere.
Some of y'all asked questions about where I live and what I do, just so y'all know a little bit about me. My family's lived here for over 150 years in Swanee County, the whole time, all the time, never left. I went off to school and I came back, and the reason I came back is because I wanted to live in a good environment and in a small community.
Don't live in our county.
We're gonna let you speak. Please.
I just want to speak to y'all. We've been growing chickens around here since 1967. We have over 150 growers, 535 houses. We've been building chicken houses. I've worked for Billy for 15 years. And we've been building chicken houses. And the reason I'm here tonight, I just wanted to hear what y'all's concerns were. I've never experienced this before. No, we have them this morning, Lafayette, Madison, with Columbia. And I heard there was some grumbling about, building chicken houses.
Please, sir.
And I showed up. I just wanted to hear what you had to say. I'm not, I didn't have to come here.
Thank you.
Okay?
One person to ask.
No, ma'am, please. Let him finish. Let him
When I
finish.
get done, all I'm saying is, I live in Swanee County, have lived in Swanee County. I've got family in Columbia County. I've lived in that river all my life.
They would be doing it like you did. They.
Why would I live somewhere that I'm trying to say this correctly. I don't want to move. I'm not gonna move. And I wouldn't put crap in my backyard.
You're putting it in ours.
I live a half a mile from and I know I'm not gonna change your mind. I'm not here to change your mind, but I'm here. I'm listening to everything you gotta say.
How many plants this size that the crowd do?
Several. I have over 20 in Swanee County.
This size?
We're gonna have to quit asking questions from the audience, and we'll let this man speak and address the questions that we're asking him.
There's one farm in Columbia County right now. There's probably 40 in Lafayette County, 40 or 50 in Swanee County. There's 7 or 8 in Hamlin County, several in Madison County.
This big?
Sir?
We have farms that average from 4 to 20 houses. We will contain, I know we are going to contain the litter on this farm, and it will not be, I don't care if she's got a hay field or what she's got. Hay's grass.
Sir?
No, it will be put in a compost corner, and we will make her get rid of the chicken litter. This is an individual grower who came to us 6 months ago and said, I want to build a chicken farm. I told her what you need to do. Find you a piece of property, go to your county, get it zoned, go to the water management, get a permit, then come see me. That's it.
Ma'am,
She know where nobody lives. There's
Ma'am.
lots of land where nobody.
I'm gonna adjourn the meeting if you keep speaking out. We'll all be finished. We're gonna do it the right way.
Does that make sense? Go where there's nobody.
We're gonna do it the right way, please.
I don't know where there's land nobody's at. We're going
Lots of it, I'll show you.
Please.
The closest house is about 600 foot from this farm in our development.
I'm not, like I said, I'm
Not
not
a half
going to
a
change my
mile,
mind.
600 foot.
This last warning to all of y'all sitting out there. Next time anybody out first, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
But we are here.
I'm trying to let you all get to speak in order. I'm gonna let him finish.
And we plan to be a partner in Columbia County, do whatever we can do in Columbia County to make this how you want. But, if somebody's bought a piece of land and has the individual right under law to do what they want to with that thing. She followed all the proper channels that she knew to follow to get this done. Whether they're right or wrong, it's not up to me to decide here. But she did what she was supposed to do. Nobody snuck in the back door. She went and got permits, went before whoever she needed to go through this happened. We will be a good partner in this community. We already are.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
Joel.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Just a minute,
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Right here.
No, it's me over here.
Okay, sorry.
I guess my voice is coming from somewhere out there. I'm over here. The question was asked about a concentrated AFO animal feed operation. Can you speak to that with this volume of chickens in this space? What this is classified as? Is it an AFO or
No.
I looked it up. I was trying to research it. I wasn't sure why.
None of our poultry operations fall under a CAFO. There's certain animal numbers requirements per barn, things of that nature. And there's a reason we only, this farm will hold 22 to 25,000 chickens per house. That's it. Well,
Okay,
by law of my customer and by animal welfare standards, we do not exceed those numbers. We grow antibiotic-free veg-fed birds for pilgrims. Okay? We're not, these birds out here in this farm can be antibiotic-free, all veg-fed, air-chilled birds. That's what we do. We're not out there, steroids, antibiotics, all that stuff you hear. It's not what's going on. And I will be happy to share a lot of information with you, but that's kind of what we're doing. And by the number of birds we put in the house, we don't follow the cap and regulation.
Jason, can you answer the question that's been asked by several about the amount of water that will be used in this operation?
They'll probably drink 1,500 gallons a day per house. Per house.
Sorry, how much?
1,500 gallons per day per house.
about 20,000 a day. Commissioners have any more questions they noted, asked?
Well, what's the business structure? I mean, you said that the individual come to you.
Okay, well, we're an integrated contractor. All of our poultry producers are individual farmers. Families around this community, maybe not Fort White, but in Live Oak, Calvin, O'Brien, Bradford, Mayo. And generally they have some type of farming operation or they want to get involved in farming. They buy a piece of property and they say, we'd like to grow chickens for you. Chicken house right now costs about $275,000 a piece for the house. This thing is concrete sidewall, computer controlled, tight, environmentally controlled. It's a heck of an investment. Ms. Wynn's invested over $3 million in this piece of property and the house. And then what we do, we supply her with feed. There's baby chicks from our hatchery, and a place to market her product, which is our processing plant. We in turn pay her for the service of growing the bird. And we also provide her technical service. One of our employees will be on that farm at least once a week, making sure she does the things Pilgrim needs her to do. I need her to grow a good, healthy chicken in order for us to make money as a company, in order for her to make money as a grower. Ms. Wynn will gross approximately $50,000 a house a year. It's going to take her a long time to pay off that $3 million investment. It's usually a 15-year note. She has come up with all this money on her own. Pilgrim does not subsidize any part of this operation. So Ms. Wynn wants to move her family, somewhere like we live, raise chickens, make a living. She's going to spend this money in this county. She's going to pay taxes. She's going to do everything we all do. And there's a lot of people. Agriculture is very important in this community. And I know if y'all think this is not agriculture, this is a factory. I've heard the word factory. It's not a factory. Do we all eat chicken? I know some of you probably don't.
Okay, all right.
But, the public deserves food at a decent price to feed their family. And that's what Ms. Wynn is providing.
Ma'am, we're going to cut this off with him. One question I have for you before you leave. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. We've been talking for 2 hours and it's the same questions over and over, man.
We're talking about a lifetime of promises.
I want to ask one question. If she doesn't follow BNPs and makes Pilgrim happy, what would happen?
She does not have a guaranteed contract with me.
Okay?
if she does not follow any, not just DNCs, animal welfare issues, any issues we don't agree with, we sever our contract.
She's sitting there with all that paperwork in it.
That's, now, is she gonna do that? Is she gonna spend $3 million and not follow our procedures? Absolutely not. But, up front, they're all sold, they sign a contract, it's stated in that contract. If you violate anything in this contract, we can terminate the agreement. Now, we may get sued, et cetera, whatever legal recourse happens, but we are not required her to bring her chickens unless she follows the guidelines of filters.
Joel, go ahead.
One more, talk about permitting issue again. Can you explain why there was no industrial waste or wastewater permit required from DEP for this project?
This is her farm, and she went and got the permits and zoning required by DEP, water management, whoever requires those permits.
Okay, so she would have dealt with the
Yes,
DEP?
she did all the, all the banking, all the permitting, once you get a farm permitted and built, we'll bring you chickens. We don't agree to anything until, you've got all that done.
Mr. Foreman, I can answer that.
Mr. Williams? Yes, sir.
Of course. On the permit, it meet all the guidelines of Swanee River Water Management. Did you guys do that, or did the owner of the property did?
The owner of the property.
Is she not here?
I don't guess, no, sir. The only reason I'm here is I started getting a lot of phone calls yesterday. And I wanted to hear what.
My question for asking this, I'm reading, the young man gave me a copy of this application. This said July 16th, so it's been going on a long time. And it gives a list of newspapers that they didn't say which one you should advertise in, and I guess we have to go back and I'll talk to Robert and I'll talk to the publisher of the Gainesville Sun, because if the newspaper article, if there should have been an advertisement about JTC Farm chicken houses, should have been advertised in a newspaper, and they gave them a list of recommended newspapers, and I would be very interested in see if that advertisement was either in the Gainesville Sun or the Lake City Reporter. But I heard someone say, well, where was the newspaper? I didn't see it advertisement, so I'm gonna be real curious to find out whether that was where that advertisement went. And why I say that is that if it went to the Union County Times, nobody in Columbia County would have known about it. If it went to the Lafayette Mayor Free Press, nobody in Columbia County would have known about it. So it would lead me to be, if that's the case, that it was slipped in on the radar.
Like I said, all we do is provide.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, sir, I understand.
That'd be a question for Ms. Wynn.
Yes.
It would, and we'll also let staff check it out.
Yeah, I'm just real quick while we're on the point, is Mr. Thomas still here? Is he over there? Okay. Do you happen to know if they've asked for a permit through DEP, or if they've gone through that process?
No, I don't believe that they have, because one, there's not a surface water discharge, so it's not a requirement. Two, they would be, as Jason mentioned, that they would actually be under the threshold required for a confined animal feeding operation, CATO.
And I'm just asking because I know you know. Does DEP require you to apply to them for a determination on that, or do you make that determination independently and it does not apply?
Actually, it can go either way. It can go either way on that. You can actually talk to DEP's representatives in the area. And generally, not referring to the county on this, but generally the county should recommend on it as well, as to whether or not that side of an operation is required.
Thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I'll check.
You guys just stay close to me.
So I called DEP, and they said that the Swanee Water Management said that they did not.
Use the microphone.
The Swanee, they said that Swanee Water Management said they did not need a permit, so DEP has nothing to do with it, they haven't checked them out. They haven't done anything. And they said if we had a problem with our wells down the road, that they would get involved at that time.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
They said that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You still want to ask?
Yeah.
I just have a couple of questions.
With the amount of water that they say that they're going to use, I live in Big Rivers and pretty much where the crow flies right in line with this. My lead says I can only use 1 million gallons a year. So what, this property that's in the same district area basically, how much are they going to be using per year? And what's going to happen when we have a drought? That's what I want to know. And the second thing with what the gentleman said from Government Fridays, if she doesn't follow their guidelines, they can pull the contract. She's going to find someone to sell to without their guidelines, and it's going to make it worse.
Ma'am, I don't believe there's a producer within miles to do that. Where's the nearest plant from here? Nowhere to market the birds anywhere else.
So what's going to happen?
We're talking about hypothetical questions that I understand, but we don't have an answer for it.
But that's what I'm saying, we'll stop this so that we don't.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for your questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready.
I did have a question because after reviewing Dr. Graham's work, I noticed that the way that, I think fertilizer is chicken food. And so it will fall onto the ground where there's sawdust. And there was a phosphate line, so there is no layer between there and going down. There's nothing except that with sawdust and the karst. So this is a little bit of a different area, and it needs to be held to a higher standard. Again, I ask you to relook at this. This is a normal operation. He does everywhere. And you know what? Everywhere else, that's fine.
Ma'am, we were a question session on it. Thank you.
This is my question. Is this not true? Is that not what's going to happen? Best management practices, are they really going to work over that environment?
Thank you. Sir, you got one little quick question and we're done.
I think that the operative word that the gentleman put there is using the best management practices. We're going to try. We're going to try.
Question, sir?
And my question to you is, sir, in the event that any of these type of catastrophic things do happen to our quality of water or quality of air, who's going to be held responsible?
Thank you, sir.
For it?
This lady's one more question and then we'll cut it off. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know, is this lady gonna live on this property?
Absolutely. Absolutely, what he just said.
She's gonna move on it. Because if she don't, she can't hold an agriculture.
He just said that she was moving on the property. Okay, that's all. Mr. Mayor? Mr. Williams, you have a comment?
Did the comment section over?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here is what I've got to say. I've sit here and I've listened to over 43 people. I've been on the board a long time and I don't react to crowd. I say what I think I need to say. My family have been in this county. Humphrey Parnell came to Columbia County in 1843 as a slave with J.T. Parnell. I live in the same community now that they settled in 1843. We are in our 9th generation in Columbia County. So I know Columbia County. My wife is from the south end of Columbia County. For 49 years, my sweetheart has been Gwen Williams from Fort White Park. So I got that connection there, in a sense of speaking. But I also know when you shook it down to the car, and you got the colonel there, that ag is ag. And what ag means to some folks don't mean to someone else. all know that we, as the Board of County Commissioners, have been putting $250,000 a year in the North Florida Water Working Group to protect our quality and quantity of water. So can anybody sit here and say, we don't care? So he cares also. But, excuse me, I didn't interrupt anybody when they were talking. We realize that there is a very sensitive area in the south end of the county. I resent the comment that the person made about under the table. I don't get paid under the table. I call it ace a ace, spade a spade. I call it like I see it. So, sir, I agree with Commissioner Nash. That was very inappropriate.
I agree.
This ain't Chicago. This Lake City, Florida. And we just don't do that here. But my concern is, now let me say it. I live in Winfield, Florida. That's halfway between Lake City and White Springs. There is a farm there with JC Marshall Farm. Later, it wasn't the breed, it wasn't the ones that you raised to eat. You ate eggs for breakfast. And I understand the smell sometimes. Calmaine bought that facility from Hillendale some 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't know what they done, but they made tremendous improvements. But I can get that sort of northeast wind living about 6 miles from it, and there's a smell. Now, so I can't say that there's not going to be a smell. I can't say, I don't know the difference between the layers and the pullets. But I do know that we have a fly problem sometimes. And I'll call them and they'll come in and they'll do what they need to do. They'll be very cooperative with our community. And you hear me say all the time, although you that do not know, I live in spitting distance of the landfill where everybody garbage in Columbia County comes. And my property tax haven't gone down, and I got to tell Dog Cruz that he make a mistake somewhere. In Columbia County, in the north end of Columbia County, it continues to grow. You get that north wind blowing south in the wintertime, all of those subdivisions have built across I-10, they get that same smell too, in a sense of speaking. But here is what disturbed me. When I read this permit, and I don't know where the breakdown is in communication, and if it was put in my box, I have to apologize for not reading it. But according to this memo that I have that the young man so graciously gave to me when I asked for it, this has been going on since July. And I hadn't heard a word about it until Mary Lou mentioned it last board meeting. She made the statement about the smell, and I told her I didn't have some sympathy for the smell, because I live next to the landfill and I smell it all the time. But here is what I need staff to do for me. In reading this whole permit, and I wasn't ignoring anyone when they were talking after I received this information right here. But Tilda Musgrove, the owner of the property, should have presented to her a proof or affidavit of publication within 14 days after it was published in a newspaper. Staff, I need you to call this Musgrove and get a copy of where this ad publication was aired. And if it wasn't aired in the Gainesville Sun or the Lake City Reporter, I got a serious problem. Because it doesn't make sense. It went to any other, I guarantee you 99 and 2/3 of the people in this audience are still in the south end of the county read the Gainesville Sun and the Lake City Reporter. They don't read anything else. Now, do I think that we can do something now? I don't know. There's an attorney right there to say what you can do and what you can't do. People have their property rights. They can do what they want to as long as the zoning is done right. But when it disturbs the environment, can this board legally step in and do something? I don't know. I'm not the attorney. I'm just an old country boy from Winfield. Is what I am, and we got an attorney that's by this board on what we can and what we cannot do. So here's my thing. I live in a community with a chicken farm. I live next to the landfill, but I understand. But I want to make sure that the steps were clearly done so the public would have known what was going on. Now I hear someone say that they saw the dirt being hauled in and the bulldog clearing the property and they didn't know anything that was going on. If you live right there and didn't know what was going on, what do you think this board knew what was going on? My concern, and my next concern is, where do we stop? Is it the pig farm next? Is it the cow ranch next? We depend on agriculture. But I do think that there's a place where they shouldn't be, and I know there's a place where they should be. That's that fine line of where they should. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. And, you know, that's all I got to say. This whole board, a bucket of reach over me while I was going to say, did you know about this? No, I didn't know about it either. All this he didn't know about it. All this Mr. DeFlatter didn't know about it. All this Ms. Scott didn't know about it. So, you know, we're just as bum-fumbling and confused as you all are, young sense speakers. And you can bet this board, and I'm going to say it again, I want you to understand this board is committed to help protect the quality of water and the quantity of water in Columbia County. That's all I got to say, y'all.
I just want to be, I respect everything you guys said. I grew up on chicken farms, I picked up eggs, I worked in broiler houses. I understand the flies, I understand the rats, I understand everything you said. And it's kind of, you know, I don't want to be insensitive to your concerns, and I'm not. But again, like Commissioner Williams, I didn't know anything about 12 chicken houses until Mary Lee walked up there, and the first thing popped in my mind was 12 chicken houses. That's 12 chicken houses. But I don't know, and we'll get down there to Joel as far as the legalities. If there's something we need to change, because one of the things is, my thing is, I'm not trying to stop the chicken houses, but I may want to stop the chicken houses in where they are and sensitive for the water and stuff. And I think we need to look at some of our processes to get in the game earlier.
It's all about the water.
I would just like to echo kind of what Commissioner Williams was saying. My family's been a part of Florida's agriculture since they moved here as Florida pioneers in the early 1820s. And I live on my land that was given to me by my great-granddaddy. And so I'm surrounded on all sides by farmers. I get to hear them out with their equipment early on Saturday morning when I might like to sleep in. That's part of what I get because of where I live. And the part about protecting our water, I want to echo what both of them said. I absolutely want to do what we can to protect our natural resource, to protect our springs, to protect our aquifer. But at the same time, I also have to understand that there are rights that farmers have, rights that residents have, and we all have to live together with it. There's a Florida statute, 823.14, that is called the Florida Right to Farm Act. And it protects farmers from unnecessary lawsuits. And it allows them to do what these folks out there are doing. Just like Commissioner Nash just said, the county may need to go in and say, okay, maybe this isn't where these should be. Maybe we need to look at other places that it's more appropriate. But hearing the issues about the water to me is one thing, and I sympathize with you and I agree with you. Hearing the concerns about how close you live to it, on issues other than water quality, I take issue with, because you chose to move into that area, into an agricultural community, and then folks get upset when agricultural,
Please.
folks get upset when agricultural practices are performed. And you can't, I do believe it's a happy medium, but I also believe that it's part of it. And that you can't have the cake and eat it too, as far as you like the beautiful community you have moved into, when the agricultural practices perform, that's not okay. I love my farmers.
Please.
I live in the middle of a bunch of farmers. My property is surrounded on all sides by farmers. And at any point, at any time, they could choose to do exactly what you're doing, what these folks down there are doing, and I would have to choose to put up with it or do something else. And so that would be, maybe lose my whole train of thought. I'm sorry. Okay.
Have you lived near factories like this?
Please, we're not, this is no more questions.
Oh, no questions?
No, sir. We're through the questions. We're trying to figure out some way to help you. Just let us talk and see what we can do. That's the process. That's why we're here.
We're doing the best we can.
Well, we're trying to help you. So let us try.
God? God?
Yeah. I just was trying to collect my thoughts after I saw that. If they put one beside me, I'd have to live with it or I'd have to move. That would be my choices. And that could happen at any time. I have two big-time farmers that live on both sides of me. And I have to deal with the things that, I don't have to deal with the smell from chicken farms. I have to deal with the dust in springtime when it comes blowing across my yard and I can't see anything because he stirred up the dust. That's part of it. I have to deal with, I cannot keep my house dusted. I can't keep my allergies down because of it, but that's part of it. That's part of where I chose to live. And if I didn't want to deal with that, I would have, like Mr. Scott was saying, he moved into a community in a subdivision in town. That was part of it. I understand not wanting to do that. It's God's country. Who wouldn't want to live there? But I want to do what we can as far as the water issue goes. And if Joel can address what rights does this board have as it relates to that, I would be happy to hear what we can do.
No, sir, I'm going to make a comment. Okay, first of all, I didn't ignore anyone. I'm trying to take notes and write down questions. When you saw me look down, I'm not ignoring you. I was listening to you. I'm trying to make sure I knew what everyone said. So if you took that wrong, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't take it serious enough. I grew up for 25 years around the chicken farm. I smelled it forever. My father-in-law had 15 chicken houses scattered out in 2 counties. I had them a quarter mile from my house. So maybe I was just accustomed to it, so I apologize for that. Second thing is the people I've met with and talked to believes I can stop it by myself. Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners can do nothing by himself. It takes the board. It takes the board to make any action. So we had to get to here for anything to come, for anything to be heard. We were here and a discovery was made, the way I feel, about the permit. We have one little avenue that we can check out on that DEP permit. I would have never gotten that. I mean, how would I know to look down a permit that I didn't even know it had to be issued? I've heard tonight it didn't have to be, but evidently there was one. So the discovery was made. We're going to listen to the attorney in a minute to see if there's anything we can do or if there's not. But I also would like to see a process, and I've mentioned it to staff, and I think that's really clear, that any projects this type would at least have to pass through our board for a review, whether we approve it or not. We know that happen, so that when this permit hit building and zoning, it would have come before this board just as a courtesy. And I do apologize if the board didn't know of it. I mean, we have a lot of stuff in front of us, we deal with garbage to mowing the roads, which this year it rained so much, nobody's road got mowed well, I'm sorry. But it's a lot that the commissioners are hit with. We're hit with every industry and almost every job that you can think of, learning how to do it and make decisions. It's not taken lightly. I think I've been a good advocate for the River Ridge Tugby Alliance for Santa Fe. I'm not taking it lightly, but, you know, I watched it go on a long time. And in 15 years of being right there in it, you know, I never witnessed enough water in manure to hurt anything. But it can happen. Everything can happen. I understand your point. But as living part of it, it was a hard decision to try to just jump right in and be against it, because the county's made up of agriculture. We have a large, it's in the $1 billion range that this county produces in agriculture. So we're going to try to work an even balance where it works. So at this point, I'm going to let Joel, our attorney, speak and see where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's nights like tonight that I envy my appointed colleagues who are not elected by the good folks in their counties, but I am the only elected one, so I feel highly accountable to the folks who come here tonight. I just ask that you don't shoot the messenger as I give you this little law lesson and advise the board on this issue. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, you are a board of county commissioners for a charter county. Several folks tonight, I think in good spirit, said that you have the power to stop this. I do, as your attorney, have the obligation of reminding you of the scope of your powers. The provisions of the charter that empower you are not intended and shall not be construed to conflict with the Constitution of the state of Florida, general law, or special law approved by vote of the electorate, which would be a special law approved by the same folks that have elected you. So we do need to understand the scope of our powers is limited by the Florida legislature. With that in mind, I would direct your attention to the statute that Mr. Scott cited in his memo to you, which I think might have been part of the, I'm not sure if it's in the agenda pack or not, but it's Florida statutes, excuse me, 553.73. Non-residential farm buildings on farms are in fact excluded from requiring a county-issued building permit by that statute. So when you say you didn't know, and when our planning department says they didn't know, they did not have a request for a building permit for the structures that are being erected at this project site. Because there was no permit requested, because that process was not employed, your appointed planning and zoning board of adjustment did not have an opportunity to have meetings. The numerous public notice requirements triggered in that process also weren't in play. I say all that to say this. You do have land development regulations that could ostensibly reach out and touch this project. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But as you consider those regulations, you do have to look at the Florida Right to Farm Act, which Commissioner Persina cited. Now, the statute itself is a couple of decades old, but recently it was amended with subsection 6, which is titled Limitation on Duplication of Government Regulation. And I know folks who aren't crazy about government like the idea of reducing red tape, but folks, this might be the consequence of reducing some red tape in legislation. Let me read this into the record. It is the intent of the legislature to eliminate duplication of regulatory authority over farm operations as expressed in this subsection, except as otherwise provided for in this section and section 487.05.12 Florida statutes, and notwithstanding any other provision of law. A local government may not adopt any ordinance, regulation, rule, or policy to prohibit, restrict, regulate, or otherwise limit an activity of a bona fide farm operation on land classified as agricultural land pursuant to 193.461 Florida statutes, where such activity is regulated through implemented best management practices or interim measures developed by the Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, or water management districts, and adopted under Chapter 120 as part of a statewide or regional program. When an activity of a farm operation takes place within a wellfield protection area as defined in any wellfield protection ordinance adopted by a local government, and the adopted best management practice or interim measure does not specifically address wellfield protection, a local government may regulate that activity pursuant to such ordinance This subsection does not limit the powers and duties provided for statutes 373-4592, or limit the powers and duties of any local government to address an emergency as provided in Chapter 252. Now, the crib note version basically says that this act prevents counties from implementing ordinances and rules that would restrict, regulate, or prohibit farming operations and activities on agricultural properties when the activities are controlled by BMPs or regulations created by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, or FDEP, U.S. EPA, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, or U.S. Department of Agriculture. So what this is a preemption scenario. And the Florida legislature has, in fact, with respect to the water use permits, with respect to the environmental permits that have been discussed here, this board is preempted. This board does not get to weigh in on those issues. You've been deprived of that, okay, by legislation, which according to the secondary research I did, this will shock everybody in the room, it was very much lobbied by the agriculture industry. And the idea was to curtail the ability of a local government to go in and strip out a farming operation because of a private nuisance. That very same statute actually deals with private nuisances. One of the gentlemen was kind enough to provide a chart of judgments. Most of those arise in what's called a private nuisance. I own a piece of property here, there's dust and debris and things that I don't like coming from the farm. I'm going to sue the farm and I'm going to recover for that, for the diminution of value and any damages I may suffer. A lot of the folks here tonight are talking about issues that in law would be viewed as private nuisances. The bad news is that this very same statute knocks out a lot of those lawsuits. So not only is this board precluded from taking the kind of action that you folks may want to take, but a lot of these folks who may be adversely impacted also might see their rights limited under that statute. Now, I say all of that, I'm going to borrow from Dale. I say all of that to say this. Okay? I had to get that in since this is the first meeting. There is, in fact, a permit requirement in our land development regulations that may apply under these circumstances. And the reason I was asking about the FDEP permit is that very much hinges on how this is going to go. Under our code section 26-35 permits, we have, check that, 14-12, special permits for intensive agricultural uses. Our land development regulations say there shall be no new intensive agricultural activities as defined in section 2.1 of these land development regulations, or no new intensive agricultural activities shall be conducted in any agricultural or ESA zoning district without first obtaining a special use permit for such activities from the Board of County Commissioners. That applies. Okay, an agricultural activity is considered intensive under the definition section in our code if the developed means those agricultural land use require an industrial waste permit from FDEP. So what this board has already done in adopting these LDRs is you paid attention and you said if these folks are going to create so much discharge and runoff that they need a wastewater permit from FDEP, then we're going to kick in some procedures because we want to double check that. So the chair mentioned we may need something where we get to look a little closer at this. It's in here. Okay, but what you've done is you've been very careful not to tread on what the legislature told you you couldn't do. Okay? So what happens is if in fact that permit is required, these land development regulations automatically kick in and numerous procedures go into effect. And I want to say again, if. This very much hinges on what DEP does. I've heard the statements tonight. People don't think DEP is going to do anything. If DEP doesn't do anything, our LDRs don't kick in. However, the procedures include a request for special permits submitted in writing on an application form to be provided by the Land Development Regulation Administrator, together with payment of required fees. The application requires submission of a site plan where appropriate. The Land Development Administrator shall forward the request to the Planning and Zoning Board, and there shall be a review. There will be the erection of a sign and advertising permit request on a prominent position on said land. Notify all adjacent and contiguous property owners by certified mail. Return receipt requested. The Planning and Zoning Board will hold public hearings permit, to consider the permit request. Planning and zoning board will fix reasonable time for the hearing, give public notice, will do notice to all parties involved. Planning and zoning board will submit its report and recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. Planning and zoning board recommendations shall be advisory only and not binding, so the ultimate decision would be yours. Within a reasonable time after receiving the report, the Board of County Commissioners would have another public hearing to consider the permit request, and the board would fix a reasonable time for the hearing just as the other board had to. The board would take final action on the permit request by either approving with conditions, or denying the request. In addition to obtaining the permit, the applicant would be required to meet any additional requirements of the Board of County Commissioners, the State of Florida, the United States of America. Prior to granting any special use permit, the board would be required to make the following findings: that no part of the activity is to be conducted in areas of high recharge to the Florida aquifer. That if the wastewater management system is required by any appropriate regulatory agency, the wastewater management system will be designed by the Soil Conservation Service, or will be the equivalent of a system designed by Soil Conservation Services of a licensed professional engineer. Basically, you're piggybacking there and saying, if you've got a surface water management plan, you need to follow it. That the facility will use best management practices to reduce flies and other insects. That the activity will not be located within any environmentally sensitive area, as defined by the county's comprehensive plan. That the activity will not substantially impact existing groundwater quality or quality of aquifer recharge areas. That other factors which the board may consider relevant and appropriate to the public health and safety of the citizens of the county. All of that is triggered under our land development regulations by one thing, and that's issuance of that DEP permit. So not the water management district's permit, but the DEP stormwater discharge permit, or excuse me, wastewater discharge permit.
But they don't need one.
Well, that was why I asked the questions, Mr. Commissioner. I'm not sure. I don't know that they've asked DEP. I know DEP has given our planner an indication that they don't think they need one. But we don't know because the owner's not here. And I think you've already kind of alluded to the point. You want to know what's happened before now.
Yeah, that's what I want to go back. I want to know every step that's taken to lead us to where we are now.
Now, riding on the pendulum here, okay, we go back the other way. I do want the folks that have come here tonight, and I want this board to understand that the land development regulations that are in place are the ones that will be effective as to this landowner. You cannot change the laws midstream.
I know.
Okay, I know you know, Commissioner, you've been here long enough, but it's my job to tell you. And so we have to take the laws as we find them now. We have to take the land development regulations as we find them now. The chair's point that these procedures may need to be looked at a little more closely may well help with the next situation, but there's nothing we can do that's going to help with this one. So the question I would have that I think this board might want to have answered is whether or not it's conclusive that FDEP doesn't have to issue a permit. And if that answer is in the negative, then there's nothing more that this board is going to be able to do.
Under the part of the Florida statute to give agriculture the right, and wholeheartedly, I agree with ag, and the reason that the legislature done that is for the reason as of tonight. It's why that was put in there, where we as local elected officials cannot let our feelings be, decisions be made on the testimony that we hear may be all critical. But I need to know the process every step of the way. I want to know whether agriculture is exempt from following the best management plan when it comes to mitigating the gopher turtle. We had to do it putting in a road. I want to know whether an ag can just go in there completely just wipe out endangered species. Mary, in the East Tutton is designated as outstanding water Florida. I want to know what do the legislature, what do the state of Florida feel about intensive ag into waters that they have designated outstanding areas for water Florida. I just need to know. And
Banner, you get it in? Yes, sir. I might, yes. All right. He's right on that.
so if we can just back up and just retrace this every step of the way, then we'll know where we are. And I understand exactly what you said about we can't go back and recommit the wheel and pass an ordinance tomorrow to stop what's happening from happening now.
Well, Commissioner,
But there might be something that happened leading us to this process, and we can say, hey, look here though.
the fact of the matter is that, you know, the discussion's been had tonight, the issue is clearly front and center, but there is nothing before this board to vote up or down tonight. There's just not. There's no permit in question. There's nothing else really, just because of the nature of the beast, or the way the legislation here is and the way the regs are laid out, no question for this board. That's not to say this is not a worthwhile exercise. It absolutely is. But I think that key question needs to be answered, and quite frankly, it's an on and off switch. It's either on or it's off with respect to that FDEP permit.
Well,
Excuse me, just one more
I
question.
need to apologize to the folks that are here. We're not going to answer any more questions. We'll do that.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you false hope. Everybody's calling me saying, can I stop it? I couldn't tell you I can stop it. So if you get mad with me, get mad with me or whatever. I'm not going to sit there and say I can stop it when I can't stop it. We got to here now, at least we have one shred of hope. Get the permit and see if they have to have a wastewater permit. If it's filled out. So, you know, we're trying. That's all we can tell you. We're trying to do. The gopher turtle's not regulated by the county. That can be wherever it goes.
Let me speak to that, because I hear the commissioner's concern and I understand it. But again, to trigger the process provided in RLDRs, the only issue is that FDEP permit. That's it.
How about the advertising?
That's what we're talking about. So that's part of it. Mr. Nash.
How do we get into the game a little earlier than where we are now?
Well, I hope we get that process that if they apply a permit through the county, we get notification. That's what I'm saying.
They didn't apply.
Yeah, they did. They applied for a permit for a structure, a mobile home to live in. Did they not, Randy?
There's no permanent department for the actual chicken farm or the agricultural non-residential.
Well, that's what I was trying to say too, though. We want to get some mechanisms that before it starts, we get to review it.
And they don't have to even contact us. We're preempted by state statute. But for the dwelling that they're proposing on the property, yes, they did submit a permit last week for a mobile home to be located on the subject property.
Well, I'm going to challenge staff, figure a way out, because we don't need to be here again. We just
One thing about it, wanting to do the water management was involved in July limit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
But in a water sensitive area, in the relationship that we should have with Swanee Water Management, there should be some kind of communication.
Yes, sir. There was communication not only with county staff in Swanee River Water Management District, but county staff in FDP and Swanee River Water Management District in FDP.
Well, when did that happen, Randy? Not to try to throw you under the bus, but if we're trying to figure out a way to watch what's going on.
This past week,
Not
last
3 months ago.
no, this was,
July, maybe?
no, I was not, I don't remember exactly when I learned about this, but I told the Swanee River about a month ago.
Okay, good. Joel? Ron, go ahead, Ron.
And here's my problem. I don't trust Swanee River Water Management or DEP. Neither one of those organizations until they show me different. But here again, Joel, I almost knew what you were going to tell us. But you know, we'll just have to see what come of it, and we'll just keep working at it.
I don't have a question, I have a respectful suggestion.
We're not, ma'am, we're trying to discuss and help
Do
you.
a resolution.
We're trying to do that.
You can do a resolution tonight.
Thank you, Joel.
I didn't have anything to say, unless you had a question.
So we're going to check, on staff's going to check to make sure this permit was applied and where it was advertised. Is that right, Ben?
Commissioner, I've got a few things here that you've listed. Where was the ad for the permit? Provide a proof of publication. How can we bring projects of this type for review before the board? Is in fact an FDEP permit required, yes or no? The gopher tortoise removal question, Commissioner, I can find out who is the enforcing agency behind that.
Fish and Wildlife.
And then what does the state say about intense use in our water areas? I will find out those questions for you, but again, I think there might have been a little misconception as far as my presentation goes. I get what I was basically doing is the same thing Joel has just done. He got into a little bit more detail, was to explain that our process, your hands are somewhat tied by preemptive legislation. So I'm not saying, hey, I'm for this poultry farm. I'm not saying I'm against this poultry farm. I'm laying out the processes that are there for you. Now, what you're asking me to do is find out, is there anything we can do to change this process? And I will find out. I will say, Mary Lee brought this up to me a few days before she came to the last board meeting and she said, Ben, is there something, we need to look at doing something with the LDRs because of this. So that process is something that we'll look at from a legal aspect, but whatever we do to change our LDRs, what you have to realize, folks, is that we still cannot preempt state or federal regulations. So we have to make sure that what we're doing goes by that. Now, what the commissioner is saying is we want to know something earlier than that. And with this particular project, like I said, we weren't aware of it until Mary Lee let us know about it, and she saw it going on. There was nothing going on in building and zoning. They're not required to pull a permit from building and zoning, so that's kind of the issue. I like for the board to be able to say, I'd like to be able to tell them, yes, we're going to bring this before you every time it comes up, but I'm just not sure. We're going to have to look into it and see what we can do for you folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're through with that, yes, ma'am.
Does it stop them right now to?
Until we can check on anything, correct.
How would we know when you're done checking and what you're done?
I think she asked when we know that we will be checking.
How would we know?
How would they know?
Oh, about the status of DEP?
Yeah.
We'll make some phone calls and then Mr. Looker can help us start a public records request to DEP.
We'll definitely let Mary Lee know and places that you'll be able to find. Ma'am.
There'll be a 2-minute comment.
Yeah, please, we're trying to help you, but by the statute, charter will have a 2-minute comment for public comments. But please, if you got something else to talk about, we'd like to hear it. I understand, ma'am. I understand.
Okay, one thing I would like you to look into, I did talk to Brandon, as you heard, they do not have a permit for the road. And the road, if you look at the drawing that I provided in one of the files here, I want you all to understand, when this ERP permit was issued, this road had an ingress-egress on the Briar Patch Road. And the ERP, this is the kind of thing that we're dealing with. It's like they changed on a whim. And so they didn't like what was going on. The Briar Patch community didn't like that they were using their road. They never had authorization to use it, and it was in the ERP permit. And then the community said, no, you can't use our road. And so then they switched it, and they started building a different plan on the 5 to 10 feet of fill dirt they brought into the property. They also don't have a permit for the fill dirt. According to the Water Management District, they didn't need it, and they seemed to think it was okay. Well, they filled the swale. If you looked at that LiDAR that I showed, they filled the swale. The swale goes into the neighbor's property. When you put 5 to 10 feet of dirt on somebody's property, and it rains, you know where that dirt's going to go. It's going to go down. It's going to go down into the recesses of wherever it's going to go. So there were other things that weren't covered in terms of permitting, road work, ingress, egress. There's so many things that I wish I could have talked when you all were talking, because there's so many points that are not being addressed, and I probably need to sit down with Joel to discuss them, because there are other issues. Like, you could have if you find out it's not posted, you have 21 days to file it for a DOA. And so with that respect, you could actually stop the construction in that time frame if it was not posted, because the people did not know about it. And you could actually pursue a DOA that way. Oh,
Mary
there's a
Beth,
couple
I'll let you
things.
talk to Joel,
Yeah.
give him any ideas. Okay? We're trying not to talk about it anymore now, so go ahead.
Something different.
We just don't want to discuss this anymore.
No.
I want to address Commissioner Williams.
Okay?
He had a question about the, well, I'm going to address a couple of things. I have a copy of an email from the Water Management District to, or actually from the DEP to the Water Management District. It says, Kevin, it was good talking with you again. As we discussed the operation described with boilers and 12 houses, blah, 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 it doesn't require a wastewater permit. They never saw the plan. Kevin from called and said, hey, do you need this? Or we got 12 things. They never sent them the application. They never sent them the drawings or anything. It was done over the phone. I don't think, in my position, I would not do something over the phone like that.
Well, why don't you talk to
And that's one of the questions that he's going to find out. Did the state of
And-
Florida know this was an sensitive area, one of the outstanding waters of Florida? That's the question.
And if you would interpret manure as fertilizer, it would require a special exemption.
We got 2 minutes, and then we're cutting down.
Sir, you can feel surprised. We know you don't have no insight on
Ma'am,
what
we really suggested forward without you on speech, so address us.
Well, I was going to tell him, we know it's not, he didn't choose the site, okay? So we don't need to hold against him, he's just doing his part. But it seems to me like it's it's just over a mile from town. Isn't there something about city limits and zoning?
We've got all of that. We understand. We're trying to help you.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have to, Casey, long.